Hi, I'm Zero, and this is what if Deku had Wolverine and Taskmaster's powers. We left off while the 10 month has passed. You know, Izuku training with All Might. Izuku did got, you know, one for all. So yeah, now the 10 month has passed, and Izuku will now go to the entrance exam of UA. Now, Izuku can use, as I said, 30% one for all, and he does have Black Whip, but can't control it yet. He hasn't. He has met the vestiges, and he has talked with All Might about it, but he can't use Black Whip as well as he wants to. So he won't be using Black Whip for now. He's using Black Whip as his, trump card. And so, yeah. Then Izuku pretty much, goes to the UA, looks at the huge gate. And he kind of thinks, it's a huge gate. Very, very huge gate. And then Izuku walks in. He doesn't, trip. While walking in, he sees Bakugo, and Bakugo sees him. Bakugo does not try to say anything to Izuku because Bakugo can see Izuku is a little bit more taller than what he was, last time. Izuku's height is about 6.6, let's just say. Yeah, 6 point no 6.6 would be too high. Yeah, 6.4. Yeah, 6.4. And he's wide, muscular, raw muscle. So Katsuki doesn't try to, mess with him. Then Katsuki pretty much, you know, leaves. Izuku was looking at Katsuki thinking that he will try something, but he didn't. So he will walk, you know, into the hall where the written test will be happening. Everyone was looking at him because he was tall, muscular, and he has this aura of, yeah, I'm powerful kind of aura. And so Izuku pretty much, goes in, sits there, does the written exam, gets the uh, doesn't get the result right away, of course, but he will be, first in written exam. Of course, he will be the first in written exam. He's the best. I mean, the best. So yeah, that happens. Then they all, go to the auditorium where President Mike will be explaining, you know, the stuff about, zero pointers and other stuff. Katsuki still sits next to Izuku. Izuku doesn't pay him any mind, but then Katsuki has to talk with Izuku that, yeah, I'm gonna win whatever you do. Uh, Izuku. Katsuki doesn't call, Deku because he's not Deku. He pretty much beat him. So yeah, he calls him Izuku now. Pretty much. Just a sec. Yeah. And so Izuku also starts talking with Katsuki a little bit. Like, yeah. You say that every time that you're gonna beat me, I'm the one who always wins. While both of them are talking, President Mike was explaining about, the 3 pointers. He didn't explain about the 0 pointers, so Ida being Ida stands up. And pretty much, tells that this is pretty unprofessional of UA for not, telling about the 0 pointer. Then he looks at, Katsuki and Izuku, who are still not paying him any attention. They both of them are looking at each other while talking very little amount of, threats to each other. Like, yeah, you can try that. I'm gonna punch your teeth in kind of threats. Then Ida says, both of you are talking, disturbing everyone. Izuku looks at, Ida and says, you are the one disturbing everyone by standing up and yelling. Ida just get, what? What did he just say? Did he say, I am disturbing everyone? Then President Mike would say, uh, you there, sit down. I was about to explain about the zero pointer at last, but you interrupted me. Everyone starts to, laugh at Ira because he pretty much made a fool of himself. Then President X tells them that what zero pointer is and so forth. Now Katsuki doesn't know, what Izo gaining a huge buff in his power. He thinks he still has, the regeneration and his strength and techniques to go by, but he's wrong. And Izuku doesn't use one for all like All Might does, throwing punches and all that stuff. Yeah, that's not Izuku's style. Not even a single bit. And so, pretty much Izuku and Katsuki goes to their respective rings. You know, both of them were not in the same area in canon, so I would be there. And they will be in, this what if. Pretty much. That's what I'm trying to say anyway. And after that, just a sec, I'm gonna pause it for us. Yeah, sorry about that. Where was I? Yeah, both of them just go to their respective rings. And yeah, all them are standing there. Izuku thinks I should pretty much, go to the front of the line. He was going there. Ida comes, puts his hand on Izuku's shoulder, and Izuku was not paying attention. He was thinking of how he should use Black Whip properly, or what techniques he can use with, Black Whip. But he didn't, have any right now. And when, Ida pretty much, grabbed him, he grabbed him a little bit hard. Ida was kind of angry that, what Izuku did, but, made him look a fool. So Izuku simply, shifted, shifted and judo slammed Ida into the floor, and he has 30% one for all, but he only, naturally uses about 8% one for all the time. He never turns it off. He can use 30% all the time, but he prefers to, decrease it because of, people like Ida. That if by mistake he threw someone like that, with 30% of strength, one for all, it will be devastating. Ida pretty much, as soon as Ida got flipped, hit the floor, Ida bounced off, literally. And everyone was looking at Izuku and Ida kind of shocked like how fast he moved, because uh, almost all the kids could not see Izuku move at all, because Izuku's movement were quite swift and he's quite fast. And Ida pretty much, bounced off once and then fell on the floor. Ida's mind was pretty much uh, shaking like crazy. I mean, insanely. Shaky mind. The entire ground, in which Izuku was, who saw what happened, the entire ground went silent, including President Mike himself, because he was kind of shocked, because President Mike himself couldn't, see Izuku clearly. To him, Izuku was like a blur. He could see it more clearly than, normal, students, but he was still pretty fast. After about 10 seconds of the silence, Ida starts to get up, and Izuku was like, what the hell were you doing? Ida says, you attacked me. It says, you grabbed my shoulder. I didn't know who you were, and I wasn't focusing. It was a reaction. Muscle memory. It was like, yeah, but still you. Then Ida was, about to stand up. He kind of, wiggled, because his mind still isn't right, because he pretty much, hit the floor and then got up. He's only, less damage because he was wearing his armor. If he wasn't, well, he won't be getting up anytime soon. But yeah, after that, about 1 minute, after a minute or two, Prismax says, go. Gate opened. Then Prismax says, Hero doesn't, wait around for the opportunity. Then he said, go. Izuku pretty much used instantaneously went 30% one for all and ran. Ida also ran, but Izuku was much faster than Ida. Izuku is naturally more faster than Ida, and on top of that buff of 30% one for all, yeah, he's faster than Ida. Then Izuku puts his right hand forward and black whip starts to being activated. Izuku says, "I don't want to waste time here." Then a black whip will create a sword type of you know thing. It's basically a stick, but that looks like a sword, but it's not a sharp. But Izuku doesn't care because he can pretty much is naturally sharp. He can cut through things with this, but it's not sharp to touch unless Izuku wants it to, cut through things. Then Izuku starts pumping one for all into it as well. It can only take about 8% one for all, so yeah, it's about more powerful than any normal weapon. Then Izuku starts to cut through all the 2 pointers, 3 pointers that he came across. And several of them are, kids and Ida, including I think what's his quirk is. First he ran pretty fast. He pretty much then he used put his right hand forward, then this black tentacles thing came out and it made a sword, and now he's cutting through things. And Izuku is cutting through gracefully because he knows how to use a sword properly. Even he's the best swordman. If I have to say, he's the best swordsman in the world, just like he's the best fighter in the world, because learning all different form of fighting style, combining them together, making the ultimate fighting style that's pretty much unbeatable. Yeah, he's pretty hard to beat, even if he, he himself doesn't use his quirk. But thanks to adding one for all and his regeneration on top of that, yeah, he is almost impossible to beat. He's pretty much cutting through robots. Ida thinks that I have a speed quirk, but he's even faster than me. And he does kind of angry because, yeah, in the minute that they were waiting, Ida didn't say anything because he didn't want it to, be slammed again, and he was still recovering from the slam. He realized that the strength behind the slam was greater than a human, should put out. At the time, Ida thought he had a strength quirk or something because he was quite muscular, and I would say, a little bit more taller than Ida because I have said he is 6.4. Yeah, I don't know what height Ida is, but yeah, I'll see it in the next video. And so, about quite a lot, about few minutes pass. Izuku is at the top, and now we go to the Bakugo side. Bakugo, as soon as his gate open, he uses explosion to push himself forward. And several of the teachers were impressed that his quirk is an explosion and he's using it in a way to increase his speed. He's almost flying. He only, doesn't. He gets airborne much more longer. He can stay airborne much more longer now. Let's just say. And he's exploding, robots pretty well, using pretty much dodging. His footwork is perfect. Not as good as, Izuku's footwork, but it's pretty good footwork. Better than original because Katsuki did learn actually how to use martial arts because he knows Goku knows all sorts of martial arts, so he thinks martial art won't be that bad because he still wants to beat Izuku, but he can't beat Izuku for some reason, and he won't be able to beat Izuku for ever reason. And so that happens, and now then ground starts to shake, and now we cut back to Izuku's side. Ground starts to shake. Izuku is at the top of the entrance exam because he's using 30% one for all, and he's using a sword. He's not just punching things, he's cutting them with grace. He can just swing a sword in the air and release a shock wave, a blade of wind kind of that cuts through things properly. So yeah, that's kind of more for his thing to use. And the teachers on the other hand are trying to find what his quirk is. They say in his file there is only a regeneration quirk he had. What all that? Ness says maybe his quirk evolved or something. It happens sometimes. All the teachers nod. Because Nezu kind of already guessed that he's the wielder of, one for all. And he thinks that All Might chose a pretty good successor because he had regeneration. But not even Izuku not even All Might or, Izuku or what you call Nezu knows that Izuku's, healing quirk has gotten off the charts. I mean, off the charts. So yeah, he's been using 30%, one for all on full cowl. He knows how to use full cowl, and his lightning that comes is not green; it's black. Lightning that comes off of Izuku is black, not green, but pure black for some reason. Pretty much, then Izuku looks at everyone is running away. Izuku looks at the direction that people were running away from. He sees the 0 pointer, he just has a smile on his face, smirk. He wants to destroy that thing to see how good he is, but then he hears a scream. He instantaneously pinpoints Uraka where she is and he runs. He, stays, jumps to 40% one for all. It does minor level of damage, but the damage also heals, so his body is also getting used to the 40% one for all pretty fast, pretty damn fast. So yeah, Izuku pretty much runs up towards Uraka, picks up puts his hand under the concrete block that was fell on Uraka and pushed it forward, and the concrete block flew. Izuku pretty much used his black whip, grabbed Uraka. He pretty much dispersed his sword, ran towards Uraka, used his right hand to shove under the concrete block, throw it upwards, jump back, use his left hand, throw black whip, grab Uraka and yank her, pretty much pick her away, far away. Then he jumps, back few more times, puts Uraka down, retracts his, black whip and looks towards, the 0 pointer and runs towards it. Before Uraka was about to say thank you and, anything, but he just ran. And while running, he's doing something similar to, Naruto run. And then on his right hand, something, black whip starts to make something new. It basically is a sword that what he made, but this is much more bigger and it's more thicker as well. He's putting more tentacles or black whip around it to make it more denser, and then he charges it up with one for all, about 13% one for all, or 15% one for all, and jumps. At the same time, the 0 pointer was about to punching towards Izuku. Now Izuku is in the air, 0 pointer's punch is coming towards him. To Izuku, it's going even much more slower, how he usually sees things, because Izuku is quite fast. Izuku just lifts his right hand up, because the sword was in his right hand, and then slashes downwards. Teachers are kind of shocked, because as soon as he swing downwards, nothing happened, but then the arm of 0 pointer got cut in half. Then the shockwave came that cut the 0 pointer in half purely. The ground beneath 0 pointer has a slash in the ground that's going pretty behind the 0 pointer, like how someone pretty much threw a huge sword and dragged it into the ground. Yeah, that kind of slash is there, and 0 pointer got completely cut in half. But Izuku wasn't done there. Izuku used black whip too. Pretty much he dispersed the sword after slashing, put both of his hands forward, from both of his hands two black whip came, grabbed buildings, and Izuku used it as a momentum, something similar to what Spider-Man does, and pretty much throw himself forward. And The zero pointer did got cut in half, but this happened pretty fast. So zero pointer didn't have chance to be completely, be cut in half and fall down. And Izuku was already there. And the zero pointer was at the same time also being, falling apart, being because it was cut in half. Then Izuku cocked his fist back, and Izuku is at 40% one for all, and punches. I mean, punches the robot, and the robot did the same thing what it did in the original, uh, but much worse because it already had a cut that went straight through, cut it in half. But this just made it fall back because that's what Izuku wanted. Then Izuku used Black Whip to made some ground clearing and fall down easily, pretty much how Spider-Man does, something similar to that. And zero pointer exploded, and all the teachers were shocked because the slash and the punch happened in between just 2 seconds, or just 2 or 3 seconds. In 2 or 3 seconds, Izuku took care of the zero pointer easily, and Izuku doesn't even have a single scratch on him, not even a single one. Because one for all also increases your durability as well, and thanks to the the golden body and bone hardening training, his durability was naturally pretty high, and with this it's much more higher. He's basically much better version of All Might, but he's not as buff as All Might because he still has the plasticity of a gymnastic. Like he can move like a gymnastic would. Do splits and all that stuff. Yeah, pretty much. That happens, then Izuku was, pretty much walked away. Explosion happened while Izuku was walking away, while Izuku was not facing the explosion. So it was, how, cool walk away from explosion scenes. So yeah. At the same time, Recovery Girl was already, pretty close to Uraka, and Izuku was also walking towards them. That's what they thought, anyway. But then, Recovery Girl healed, Uraka stand up, but Izuku didn't even, pay them any mind too much. Uraka says, "Oh, hi, thank you." Izuku says, "Oh, welcome." Then Izuku just walked away because Izuku wanted to go home and train. Because, using the black whip in this state, even making a sword takes a little bit of concentration that he wants to, get rid of. Because in a fight, sometimes you can't, concentrate on one thing, and he also has to concentrate on, keeping up with One for All as well. Now, when, Izuku destroyed it, Izuku, put his, One for All down to 8% again. But something felt weird to Izuku while Izuku was going home. Izuku was using 8% One for All. He starts to run home pretty fast. He went into his room. His mother wasn't at home. She was, out grocery shopping. So he just went to his room and he, started using One for All at highest point as he can, without damaging his body. But he didn't went, about 30%. He went 35% because Izuku was using 40% One for All, and his body muscle was being torn apart, and it was putting strain on his body. But thanks to the healing capability, it was also healing pretty fast. So his body was getting used to 40% One for All. Izuku realizes this and he thinks, I can literally use 100% One for All like this. I just have to turn on 100% One for All, wait for my body to be destroyed and be regenerated again, and I will be able to use 100% One for All. And Izuku does right that. But then he realized he stopped. He was about to do it, but he stopped. He realized that he will be getting 7 quirks because he remembered what the previous vestiges said to him. Pretty much 7 other quirks. He realized if he does that and he can use One for All at 100%, he will have to learn every single quirk almost at the simultaneously, and quirk can go berserk. So he said, "Nah, I'm not gonna do it now. I'll do it later on. First, I should pretty much, I will master one quirk, then I will, start increasing the amount of percentage I use at one for all." So for the week that pretty much, he has to wait to get, the letter from UA, he practiced his black whip. And in a week, Izuku was able to pretty much, master Black Whip properly. Now he can make swords, spears, or even, poles from Black Whip easily. And it doesn't even take any amount of his concentration at all. He can even make the bigger sword that he made. To, use 15% one for all. And he's been, trying to make, smaller swords that he make use more one for all. And he has been able to, make his sword use about 10% one for all. The smaller sword that once used 8 or 9% one for all, now it can use 10% one for all. He realized that he can even make his, black whip more powerful. So he's quite happy about it. After that, about week passes, Izuku pretty much, got his letter. He watches it and All Might says, "Congratulations, you passed," and all that. But Izuku didn't cry this time because, Izuku is pretty much, Wolverine and Taskmaster's combination with Izuku's, some of Izuku's combination or, personality. So yeah, it was pretty different from Izuku to cry and all that. He's pretty wild and short-tempered person. He is still as short-tempered as Wolverine, I would say even more. But he is not crazy like Deadpool. His healing factor does, slow down his aging even further now, almost making him completely immortal, but he doesn't know that yet. Yes, Izuku is immortal now. He will still age until he becomes, at his peak of his physical capability. That will happen when Izuku turns 18. Since Izuku is only 15 now. Yeah, 15 or 14. Until Izuku turns 18, he will be aging. Since he already looked like he's pretty old because he's pretty big, strong and muscular. So yeah, he is completely immortal now because he can regrow his limbs faster than Deadpool. And his healing quirk is also much more faster than Deadpool or Wolverine combined. And his healing quirk will, get stronger the more he uses it. So yeah, his healing quirk will infinitely grow stronger because the healing quirk will infinitely heal him from, his dying cells so he can't age. So he will infinitely grow stronger. Pretty much he won't be aging once he, reaches his peak. Ever. I don't know what I'm gonna do after that, but eh. Pretty much the next day Zuko gets ready, wears his uniform, and goes towards the UA. Damn it. Sorry about that. I pretty much yawned. I'm making this video pretty late according to, my perspective because usually I make, videos at 4 p.m. but right now I'm making it about at 8 p.m. because I came pretty late from the office today. I came about at, almost at 6 o'clock. So yeah, I pretty much had a lot of work to do today. Yeah, today I'm free at 4. So yeah. Zuko goes to UA. He already, remembers because he had seen the map of UA where all the classes are. That's, you know, inside the, school gate. After you enter the main gate, inside there is a map that pretty much shows you all the, classes where they are. So Zuko pretty much glanced at it, so he remembers the entire map in his head. He is now walking towards, you know, the class 1A. He gets there, he's the first or second one there. I don't know which one would be the first. But let's just say he's the first there. He goes there and sits there. Aizawa is already there lying under the, table, napping. But Izuku sensed him because, he could hear Aizawa, snore. So yeah, pretty much he sits at the corner. Ah, damn it. So yeah, this will be the end of this video. I'll be making the second part. I will make them half an hour today. I just came too tired. I had a lot of work to do today. So sorry guys.